Thursday, 3:17 p.m. Vantage Core Solutions, a sleek tech company nestled in a downtown Dallas high-rise, buzzed with unease. Not the startup-style tension born of caffeine and ambition, but something colder. Tangible. Dangerous. CEO Elliot Trammell stood stiffly in the war room, eyes locked on a now-black conference screen. Their systems hadn't just glitched, they had vanished. No back-end access. No data. No communications. "Tell me this isn't real," he muttered. VP of Engineering Shira Collins was typing furiously at her laptop. "It's not just a crash. Our entire internal network's been nuked. Email. Backups. Security. Even our mirror servers are dark. Impossible. Those are on separate grids." They were. Something tunneled in and wiped our file structures. It's a root-level breach. The room swirled with quiet panic. Interns rushed between workstations. Engineers barked out confused commands. A man in the corner stared at his screen, stunned. At 7 p.m. Elliot was scheduled to pitch their flagship AI analytics engine to investors from Austin. A $40 million deal hung in the balance, money that could redefine the company's future. If they failed, it wasn't just a lost opportunity. It was leadership ending. Then Alex, their bleary-eyed cybersecurity lead, muttered, "This may have been triggered internally." Sabotage. A new chill fell. Suspicion crept in. Part 2, The Break Room. Downstairs near the break room, Zahara Rhoda sat alone, earbuds in, tablet in her lap. Only 12, she was here because her father, Carl, worked the night janitor shift. School had let out early, and she liked tagging along. While most kids her age scrolled through TikTok, Zahara built Python scripts and solved logic puzzles. In her ears, a tutorial whispered about root access and recursive call errors. She paused the video, thinking hard. A realization clicked. She reached for her notebook, worn, stuffed with code snippets and sketches. Part 3, The Room Freezes. Back upstairs, the tension escalated. A manager spilled coffee and didn't even notice. Panic brewed. That's when Carl knocked at the war room glass. "Sorry, sir," he said to Elliot. "But my daughter thinks she knows what's wrong." Everyone stared. "She's 12, someone whispered. Carl shrugged. "She mentioned something about permissions overwrite and recursive call issues." Shira's head snapped up. "She said recursive call." Carl nodded. The room stilled. Recursive call loops, errors that crash entire systems when a function endlessly calls itself, aren't exactly playground knowledge. Elliot sighed. "Fine. Quietly bring her up." Part 4, The Child Who Knew. 10 minutes later, Zahara entered. Backpack slung, eyes wide but calm. "Can I sit here?" she asked. Elliot pointed to a workstation. Shira knelt beside her. "How'd you learn about recursive calls?" "I built a game. My sprite froze every time it jumped. Turns out I was calling the jump function without a cap. Took me a week to fix." She plugged in her tablet. Typed a few lines. Found the bug in seconds. Line 2023. "It's looping infinitely. If you patch the parent command to limit to 5 iterations, it'll stop the chain." Alex ran her recommendation. Screens flickered. Then, everything lit back up. The company had just been saved, by a 12-year-old. Part 5, Fallout. Zahara quietly packed up. No smiles. No fanfare. Just a small nod. Shira said softly, "She did in 10 minutes what we couldn't in 2 hours." Martin Liu, a senior architect, sneered. "Probably got lucky." But the truth was clear, she'd seen what none of them could. Elliot made a decision. "Zahara, we'd like to offer you a mentorship. Paid. Real training. After school, weekends. If your dad agrees. Carl blinked. This doesn't feel real. But Zahara smiled, just a little. Okay. Part 6, it wasn't over. Then, another alert. Shira's screen flared red. A new breach. Not the same as before, she said. This one just triggered. A different script. Hidden behind admin commands. Alex added, it kicked in when the first one shut down. A contingency. This was designed. Coordinated. Carl moved toward Zahara protectively. You sure you want to stay, baby? She stepped forward. That script, it's familiar. I tested one like it. It gave every new user admin access. Alex nearly laughed. She's not guessing. She knows. With Zahara's help, they suppressed the new breach. System stabilized. Elliot looked at her. You said you didn't know if you were allowed to help. You are. Starting now. Part 7, The Traitor. Zahara spotted a strange login pattern. Same user key. Same ghost machine. That machine was decommissioned, Alex confirmed. Shira traced it. The culprit? Martin Liu. The room went silent. He was the loudest voice against her, Carl said. Because he was scared she'd find what he did, Alex growled. Elliot, he left 20 minutes ago. Said he was getting coffee. He's not coming back. But Elliot wasn't ready to go public. We gather evidence first. The board gets everything, the breach, the sabotage, and the recovery. Carl looked at his daughter, now surrounded by some of the sharpest minds in tech. She wasn't there to impress anyone. She just hated unsolved problems. And today, she solved the biggest one of them all. Part 8, The Bigger Picture. 3 days later, Zahara sat beside Shira in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. Her tablet hummed quietly. Elliot stood in front of a massive whiteboard, briefing 3 board members on what had gone down. Martin Liu had been officially terminated. Legal was still debating whether to press charges. But more than that, Elliot was proposing something radical. What Zahara showed us, he said, is that talent doesn't always look like we expect. We invest millions in recruitment and miss brilliance that's sitting right under our nose. One board member, a skeptical older man with thick glasses, leaned forward. She's a child. Yes, Elliot replied, a child who stopped a breach your top engineers couldn't even detect. And now she's helping us build new safeguards no one else thought of. The room went silent. We're creating a new initiative, Elliot continued. A mentorship lab. Targeting underserved youth interested in tech. Real systems. Real tools. Guided by professionals. Zahara will be our first. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it passed. Back in the lab, Zahara was too busy debugging a permissions anomaly to hear the news. Carl stepped in with a sandwich and a soda. Eat, baby, he said. Even geniuses gotta eat. Zahara smiled. Outside the lab, Elliot watched through the glass. Not just at a bright kid solving code. But at a new kind of future. One they nearly overlooked, until a janitor's daughter lit up the dark. Part 9, Whispers in the Code. It had been a week since Martin disappeared, but Zahara couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. Late one evening, while reviewing server logs, she spotted a small anomaly, barely noticeable. A tiny process running every 72 hours. It didn't access files or cause alerts, but it pinged. Heartbeat code, Zahara murmured. She flagged it and brought it to Shira. Together they ran a deep scan and confirmed it, a dormant watchdog script. Harmless at first glance, but layered deep in the system. It had been updated remotely, after Martin's exit. Someone else was in on it, Shira whispered. Elliot called an emergency meeting. Martin wasn't working alone. Someone else has access. Someone's still inside. Zahara sat silently, watching lines of code scroll past. The puzzle wasn't done yet. But now, she had a team that believed in her. I'll find them, she said. And no one doubted she would. Part 10, The Shadow Account. The following morning, Zahara was already at her terminal before most employees even arrived. She hadn't slept much. Her mind replayed the discovery of that heartbeat script over and over. She wasn't just thinking about the how. She was thinking about the who. Shira came in with 2 coffees, handing one to Zahara without a word. The two worked side by side, combing through logs with surgical precision. Finally, Zahara leaned forward. There, she said, tapping her screen. This user account, admin privileges. But look at the creation date. It was made after the breach. Alex walked over and peered at the code. No employee account should be created without HR sync. This one's off-grid. Shadow access. Shira nodded grimly. A ghost account. Someone slipped it in while we were focused on Martin. Carl entered the lab, wiping his hands on a janitor's rag. He sensed the tension. More trouble. Zahara looked up, resolute. Someone tried to cover Martin's tracks. That means this goes deeper. Elliot joined them minutes later, brows furrowed. Do we have any leads? Working on it, Zahara said. But whoever they are, they know our system better than we thought. Suddenly, her screen flickered. A line of code appeared that no one typed. You should have left it alone. Everyone froze. Is that a message? Carl whispered. Alex jumped into action. Trace it. Fast. But the line vanished before anyone could move. Zahara stared at the now empty console. Her heartbeat slowed. Her hands didn't shake. They're watching us, she said softly. Elliot stepped back, face grim. Then it's time we watched back. Part 11, Digital Footprints. By noon, the war room was sealed again. Alex had initiated a silent lockdown, no external logins, no off-site access. Every team was on high alert, though most didn't know why. Shira, Zahara, and Alex clustered around a shared terminal. Zahara's eyes were fixed on the access logs. This ghost account used a tunneling sequence I've only seen in 2 places, she said, bringing up a visual diagram. One was in Martin's loop script. The other came from this login, here. Alex leaned in. That's not an engineering IP. That's... He paused. That's from finance. Shira's brow furrowed. Why would finance have back-end access? Zahara clicked open a second window, layering audit logs over the network map. They shouldn't. Unless someone in finance had help. Or a second role. Elliot paced the edge of the room, arms crossed. Who in finance would even know how to mask a shadow script? Zahara hesitated. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe someone used their credentials. A planted session. Carl entered, carrying a small lunch tray for Zahara. I brought the sandwich again. It's peanut butter today, your favorite. Zahara smiled, took a bite, then pointed at the screen again, mouth full. Here. That login pinged from Finance's network segment, but its route passed through a router near the lobby. Alex pulled up the physical access logs. That area's only got one terminal, the guest check-in kiosk. Shira turned to Elliot. Someone posed as a visitor. Used the guest terminal to access a hidden partition. That's why the activity looked internal. Elliot nodded grimly. Get me the security footage from that morning. And check the visitor badge registry. If they had to use a guest terminal, they logged in somehow. Zahara leaned back, her eyes scanning the visualizations she'd stitched together. Colored paths of access, blinking flags for each anomaly. Her version of a crime scene. "There's a pattern," she said quietly. Carl blinked. "What kind of pattern, baby?" She zoomed in. Every ghost process routes through the same subnet at 4:12 a.m. like clockwork. Whoever this is, they left a trail. Not sloppy. Just arrogant. Alex grinned. "We're not dealing with amateurs." Zahara didn't smile. "No," she said. "We're dealing with someone who thinks they're smarter than everyone else." Shira whispered, "They just haven't met you yet." Part 12, Visitor Unknown. Later that afternoon, the guest log revealed a curious entry. No name, just a visitor badge number and a scanned ID that linked to a defunct security firm out of El Paso. The photo was blurry. Possibly intentional. Elliot stood over Alex's shoulder as the tech traced the MAC address used to access the lobby terminal. "This doesn't match anything in our system," Alex said. "Whoever it was, they spoofed hardware. That's military-grade obfuscation." Zahara stood nearby, arms crossed. "This isn't just sabotage anymore. It's a breach with intent." "Intent for what?" Carl asked from the back. He'd taken to hovering near the room now, mop bucket parked permanently outside. Zahara stared at the screen. "They didn't want to destroy the system. They wanted to see how we'd fix it." Shira's eyes widened. "Like a test." Elliot turned slowly. "Or a scouting mission." That evening, Alex received an encrypted file. No sender. No traceable path. Just one message embedded inside: "You passed." Below it, another line of code, one Zahara recognized from the very first breach. Carl looked over her shoulder. "What does it mean?" Zahara answered without turning her head, "It means they're not done." Part 13, The Recruiter. The next morning, the tension hadn't eased. Elliot arrived early to find Alex asleep at his workstation, Shira reviewing satellite server activity, and Zahara already halfway through a new forensic trace. Something had changed in her, she was sharper, more focused, less surprised by each new anomaly. Around 9:13 a.m., a black SUV pulled up outside Vantage Corps' building. No markings. No call ahead. Just tinted windows and government plates. Security buzzed Elliot on the executive floor. "Sir, someone's here asking for you." "No appointment." "But he has a federal badge." Elliot's stomach sank. Minutes later, a man in a gray suit entered the war room. He didn't smile. Didn't offer a name. He simply laid a folder on the table. Inside were printouts of the breach. Not just Vantage's copy, federal forensic data, layered with annotations and diagrams. "We've been tracking similar attacks," the agent said. "And you're the only company that stopped one in real time." Alex blinked. "So this wasn't an isolated hit?" "No," the agent said. "This was step one. A stress test. You didn't just get breached. You got recruited." "Recruited by who?" Shira asked. He looked at Zahara. "That's what we're trying to find out." To be continued.